There's a Wannsee conference where the word final solution to the Jewish question was used in German. And so this is one of the things that's used today and say, look, the final solution, this was the mass execution of every Jew in Europe. They wanted to kill them all, they wanted to execute them all. Here's the final solution. Here's what they put on paper. They were going to murder everyone. And if you've fallen for the lie, the final solution meant mass murder, you're like, well, yep, got him. It doesn't matter what the paperwork says about what we're going to do, because if you already know what final solution really means, you don't believe any of the lies on paper in the meticulous record keeping from the Germans.
Let's take a look at some of that Wannsee conference paperwork to see what they were going to do. Under proper guidance, in the course of the final solution, the Jews are to be allocated for labor in the East in an appropriate way. Able-bodied Jews, separated by sex, will be taken in large labor columns into these areas for road construction, during which, undoubtedly, a large number will drop out through natural attrition. So they were being used as slave labor, and it was expected that quite a few of them were going to die in the process. We don't know if that's through malnourishment, being worked to death, whatever. Something in that category. Any final remnant that survives will, since it will undoubtedly consist of the most resilient portion, have to be treated accordingly, because it represents a natural selection, and, if released, would be seen as the seed of a new Jewish revival. What does treated accordingly here mean? And how would treating them accordingly and not letting them leave somehow prevent any sort of future Jews in Europe? And what could have possibly happened to those Jews who were sent east, those considered not able-bodied enough to work in this specific circumstance? Let's take a look at what was going on in the East. Here's Hans Frank, the head of the German government in German-occupied Poland in 1944. Quote, "In order to fight the Jews, it was essential that we, Germany, took Poland because here in Poland the natural fertility of the Jewish people lived or thrived to a degree found nowhere else. Since the extermination of the Jews in Poland, the Jewish future is completely over, purely in terms of blood or biologically, because it was only here where Jews were having many children." Let's look to SS officer Heinrich Kina in this report to see what else was going on in the East, in this case at Auschwitz.
Regarding labor force, SS Hauptsturmführer Haumeier stated that only workable Poles should be delivered to avoid any unnecessary burdens to the camp and the feeder traffic. Imbeciles, idiots, cripples, and sick people have to be removed from the camp within a short time by liquidation to unburden the camp. But this measure has insofar complications as, according to the order from the RSHA, the Poles have to die of a natural death, contrary to the measures applied to the Jews. It is therefore requested by the camp administration to refrain from allocating those unfit for work.
So people disabled and unable to work had to be liquidated to, quote, unburden the camp. I wonder what that means. And the Reich Security Main Office, the RSHA, said that Poles had to be treated differently and allowed to die naturally, which was contrary to what was done to the Jews. Gee, I wonder what was being done to the Jews.